Hello, welcome. My name is Emmanuel Dusu. I'll be your course instructor on 3D design and animation crash course here on SlateCube.com. Alright, let's get on with it. Okay, first I'll be talking about the history of computer graphics. This is very important because if I go in depth with animation and design, after about the history, right? Okay, now start with the history. Computer graphics was in existence as early as 1940s and 50s. Not recently, up to recently, actually got to know about computer graphics about 3D. That was in 2009, and I really didn't really understand what it was for, so I'm explaining it. By the mid 70s, graphics at that time involved two-dimensional images only. So there are two-dimensional images with 2D. I'll explain what that means. By the late 1980s, photorealistic 3D was beginning to appear in cinema movies, and in the mid 90s, 3D could be used for entire film production. It was actually used in Star Wars Episode 4, and it was really cool. Those spaceships that are flying mid-air. It's cool shot. So it was actually being used there, and you can see how they integrated realistic human beings into the whole 3D scene, made it look real and nice. So this is an example of what 3D could be used for as early as 1980s. So we have some frequently asked questions. Most people have met me, actually sent me messages on Facebook, private messages, and they were asking me, imagine what's this course all about? Why I'm actually starting this course? The main reason I told them was that this course basically is not really for advanced users. You must not be a computer guru, as to say. You must just have a little idea of how to use software, how to use computer. So some frequently asked questions like, what is 2D and what is 3D all about? And why is 3D important? And also, what relevance is it in my field of study? Well, as I said earlier, this course is a crash course, meaning it's for beginners. But I'll be dropping some tips for advanced users who want to go in depth. And somebody asked me about my recent 3D works, my recent architectural works, and nice 3D scenes about some competitions I joined like that. One. And they were asking me about how I developed my 3D scenes, and I'll be dropping some tips at the end of each tutorial for advanced users to actually understand how I design or texture some of my scenes. Right. Okay, the next part is what is 2D and what's 3D about. I'll explain it in just a moment. Alright, and let's go into it. Assume you want to draw a cube. Wow, I love a cube. There's ice cube, there's cube of sugar, and lots of cubes, right? Cubes like boxes, like surprises, right? Get it on Christmas Day. Alright. Now, a 2D is basically means two dimension. The D stands for dimensions, means you have two axes. You have the x-axis and you have y-axis. So this is our y-axis and this is our x-axis. So this is basically a two-dimensional image. Basically it has two axes, an x-axis and a y-axis, right? Okay, now let's go in depth. Let's draw a cube on this two-axis image or two-axis plane. So if I'm drawing a cube on this two axis, the first thing I would do is to draw the lines perpendicular to each of the axes. Like I draw a line here that's conform to my x-axis, and I draw that line here conforms to the x-axis, which is perpendicular. They're all perpendicular. 1, 2, 3 are all perpendicular. That means perpendicular just simply means they go straight lines but never meet. Actually they meet at infinity, some say, but actually they never meet, to my understanding. So I'm going to be drawing a perpendicular line, that's straight lines. So this conforms to this and this conforms to this. So basically this is a 2D image in the sense it has two axes. I really drew on the two axes. This is actually my x-axis and this is my y-axis still. So basically I just have two axes, x-axis, y-axis, that made up my cube, my two-dimensional image. But let's go into 3D. What is 3D? Now 3D means three axis. You have the y-axis, you have the x-axis, and you have the z-axis. For those who read chemistry, you understand what what is it about drawing all this dx, dy, dz, boring stuff. So basically what we're doing actually is understanding what this 3D is all about, right? So now let's get into it now. 3D means a three-axis, right? Three-axis system, in the sense that you can draw on three different axes. Not only you're not actually confined towards drawing on the x and the y-axis. So drawing on a 3D means you have three axes. So drawing on this, I have a line conforming to the z-axis, a line conforming to the y-axis, a line conforming to the x-axis, and also a line conforming to the my x-axis also, then one conforming to my z-axis and one to my x-axis. So if I draw this together, you see I have a cube, a lovely cube. Wow, such a sweet cube. Now comparing this and this, the whole difference is that you can see this just basically here, and this also repeats itself here and also repeats itself here. So a three-dimensional image means you have these same parts, this same cube, this same face in about multiple places, right, to make up an object, right? Or that's not really clear. Let me just put it in a way that you say I'll say that a 3D basically is a three-dimensional image that is projected in different angles. Because in a three-dimensional image, you can position your camera in such a way you can take a photograph of a particular angle, like mostly in architectural visualizations. You see they take from a particular angle and show you how the building straightens up and brings out the beauty of the image. You know, that's basically how it is in 3D. But in 2D, there's no camera angle. Just take a plate and slap it on a plane and just take camera from top view, and that's all. There's no angle, nothing. It's just flat. It's just dead boring. But surprisingly, 2D is actually boring because they use 2D for sketching or the storyboarding. Artists, they use it a lot, so it's really good and useful. So next part, don't waste too much time. Why is 3D important? Yeah, I've had so many questions about 3D and why is it important. Now, the main basically thing why it's important is the fact that 3D is now it's actually what is in play right now. Is in play because the world is going to the computer world, right? To computer age, so we have to flow along with it, right? So recent developments have made it very necessary for us to understand 3D and use it in different fields. Like mostly now new films being released are basically 3D. They use 3D to generate the environments, then use 2D characters, like use real characters to shoot movies and incorporate those 3D scenes into it. So less cost, to reducing the cost of moving from location to location to shoot movies. Like in example, could be saying some movies I've watched. Now, let me pick some parts like Hello, Future World movie directed by Richard T. Heffron in 1976. This is a very first 3D movie created, where they changed the face of a human to that of a machine, and just wow, then people were like going crazy over this. And that's one of the simple things you can really do with 3D currently. And the next part of why it is important was in this sweet movie I watched, a very interesting movie, very beautiful storyline. I really loved the whole character, the whole expressions on their faces and freezes. So this movie was actually directed by Gore Verbinski, and it's a very beautiful movie or animation. The next part is question is why is three? What's the relevance of 3D in my field study? What's this? Hello. All right. Why is it important? It's really important because we can use it in. I'm actually a microbiologist, and in my own aspect of microbiology, I deal with molecular and basically medical also. So I can explain how using 3D software is how infections, how your chewing cuts, you can get infected, your wound can get infected, and how these organisms struggle to survive in your system, your blood, and how your white blood cells try to fight against these organisms, stuff like that. So the best way I can actually explain some of this to younger ones and to adults is using illustrations, and 3D animations is a very useful way to explain and express my ideas. Okay, now look at this beautiful scene here. When I was small, I've always wanted to be an astronaut, but recent developments have made it sure that you mustn't be an astronaut to actually get on some of those planets. NASA have provided us with some pictures, some nice satellite pictures of some planets. So through those pictures, we can actually recreate a 3D scene of those planets and fix some elements into it, like a human, a machine, a robot, some lovely satellites, looking at the Earth, transmitting information and data and stuff about a particular planet. So you can actually design. I think this picture might not be real. I don't have any idea about this, but I don't think it's real. So it's one of the few things you can do with 3D, and why it's really relevant to your course, because you can use it to for visualization of your products, like in books, in music. You can to advertise your cover music, and the CDs rotating and spinning. You can use 3D softwares. One of the very important, one of the very basic illustration of what I'm trying to say is in this film called The Martian, talking about Matt Damon trying to survive in Mars. He became a botanist trying to survive in Mars. He created some nice potatoes. Actually, he tried to create a farm, and the farm got burnt and blah blah blah. It was a very interesting movie for you to watch. If you're into movie production, it's one of the films you should watch to see how they created the 3D scene. Go to the breakdown. You see how they created the 3D scenes, the matte painting, and some other things they did to this. Really nice. It looks so realistic. Man, I love this movie. As I've said before, for medical students, you can actually use it to print this printer now called a 3D printer. Your models, you can print them and study. Like for these doctors, most of them they actually print some of these models, the things they model using their 3D softwares, and use it to teach and explain to students how these things work. And here's a very good example for product visualization. We can actually advertise some of your products. Wow, this is so nice. Coco Bello. Was it Bella? Yeah, it's Bella. And this is one of the sweetest things you can do. I love the drink. One of the sweetest things you can do. You can actually advertise some of your products, make them look real, enticing, attract customers to what you sell. So these are some popular 3D softwares we have. We have Maya, we have Modo, we have 3ds Max, Mudbox, Cinema 4D, SketchUp, Marvelous Designer, and SpeedTree, and lots more. But the funny part is that all the softwares are all paid for. But for the cost of the software, I'll be taking it through Blender. Blender is, as I've written here, is an open source software, a free open source 3D software. It's available for all major operating systems, from Windows 32 and 64-bit to Macintosh. That's Mac, so from Windows to Mac, it's actually available. Even on Linux also, for those who use Ubuntu, Kubuntu, and the rest. is actually there on Linux, so you can use it. So that's all about Blender. So for this particular crash course on animation is a course outline. So the model one, I'm talking about understanding the user interface. The first thing you have to understand is how do I what are the tools there in Blender, what are the tools that we're using, getting familiar, actually familiarizing yourself with those tools. Next part will be manipulating these objects in 3D space. How can I actually move these objects from one point to another? How can I change the shapes of these objects and stuff like that? So we're learning that in model 2. In model 3, we talk about the basics of modeling. We're talking about modeling a fan, a computer, a chair, a house, modeling a house, modeling anything that you think you can actually do, a circuit board, anything you love doing. And the fourth part will be texturing. After modeling, you see how can I apply realistic textures, realistic materials to these things you model, to these 3D models you have. So that, and model 5 will be introduction to animation in Blender, talking about how things will come alive in Blender. I've modeled something, a box. I want this box to move. I'm ready a car. I want this car to move. How do I do that? So it's one of the things you'll be learning in Blender. And the sixth part is the model 6 has to do with simple camera motion, talking about how can I move this the camera, like talking about the boom arm for those that are into film production. We're talking about the boom arm, talking about how the camera moves, and making some of the shots, some of these films we see. Talking about fly animation, flying camera animation, talking about into architectural visualization. Do you understand more of that? Then model 7 we're talking about character creation. You want to create a human being, right? A realistic character. I'm talking about how to create cartoonish characters and bring them to life. It's that stuff like that. So it's gonna be a very long tutorials. But not so long, but at least with time we can shot like 20 minutes tutorials in each of them. But that's basically what I'm taking you through. So thank you very much. As you know, your host. And I'm sending a big shout out and thank you to SlateKeep.com, that's the co-founder, the founder and the co-founder, the Krakowies, and thanks for this opportunity to run my course here, and I wish you thank you. So thank you very much for listening. Keep this yeah, let's keep. Thank you very much. See you.